Okay guys, welcome to game 4. Sorry about the yawning in the last video. It was quite a long game, but this should be a bit shorter. It's only 50 some moves. And let's take a look. Let's see who's the winner. Winner is red, so let's look from red's perspective. And okay. So red and yellow are taking advantage of the normal diagonals that you would expect. Okay, that rook out move. Okay, that's not the first time we've seen that. It's quite interesting. Covers both knight jumps well. Okay. Looking pretty standard here. Interestingly, green and blue have both done this rook maneuver. Okay. Alright, red has made move that we don't see very often. It's not committing to bringing the queen out to any more aggressive square. It's sort of showing that he just wants to castle. Okay. No, well, now he does bring this queen out to the square. So I guess he was saying he doesn't want to go to this square, he would prefer to go to this square. And what are the advantages of coming to this square? Let's take a look. Well, I suppose it would be difficult for this bishop to attack the queen. It would take several moves, at least 3 moves for that to happen. So in 4-player chess, 3 moves is too long for any plan to take effect. So the queen stands pretty safe here. No knight tricks against it. And this bishop would have trouble attacking it as well. So it's a pretty safe square for the queen to stand. And this square would have been pretty safe also. But this is slightly more centralized. You have moves like this to attack the pawn. I'm not 100% sure about the preference, but I could also see it as a way to say, okay, I'm going to castle queen side. My king's going to be on this side. I'd rather have my queen on this side as well. Things like that. Let's see how he follows it up. Okay, the bishop development, right? That would be still a logical place to move before you castle. Something I often have trouble with in my games is, do you castle or do you move the king over slowly? Because this rook might get trapped in here if you move the king over, but if you castle and you get attacked on this file, then it would be nice to have the rook there. So, but in this particular case, I think it would be fine to just castle. Okay, but he does go for the slow king maneuver. Okay. And yellow has also found a pretty safe centralized square for the king, and looks like he's getting ready to push this pawn. Okay. All right, and now red's threatening this rook. Moves the rook back, okay. And basically red wouldn't make this trade in a vacuum, but since yellow also has a battery against green's king, and red is to the left of green, if red were given the opportunity to take, that would also prompt yellow to take, and they would get an advantage. Now, blue has sort of put himself into a fork now, so let's see what happens there. Bishop gets taken off. And, right, green tries to take advantage of the moment, but this bishop should be protected by yellow, but it is not. Wow, so yellow allows this capture. Interesting. And of course blue will move the rook away now. So if I were red, I'd be a little disappointed that yellow did not help me there, but okay, let's see. There's the check now. And looks like red and green may be teaming up here. Or at least green took a free pawn, right? Just took a pawn and went back. So that was just 1 point for green. Okay, and yellow is really setting up to have a nice pawn push middle game. The king is well placed. This rook is trapped, but there's the usual method of king up and rook over in the mid game to end game in order to free it. So for king safety, I would give yellow and red a better rating. Okay, now green's actually going to be pretty safe over there too. That's good for him. Everyone's keeping their rook in the... Okay. Wait, so red moved his king up and then back. Everyone's sort of waiting to see what happens here. Okay. And we have a double check. This is sort of risky from green. But blue is the player to attack at this stage because he has fewer defensive resources. Okay. And that was actually a mate. Okay, so he'll get the benefit here. This pawn is not promoting yet. Needs to get to this highlighted square, or circled square here. And so red would have time to take this queen and still prepare a defense for the pawn. Let's see if he goes for it. Yes, he does. All right, so this is our typical exchange where green gives up the queen for 20 points, and yellow or red gets the 9 points. Typically, this is not good for green, but since green initiated it, red was happy to play out the variation. So I do agree with red working together, cooperating with green there, because ultimately it was a loss for green, I would say. And let's see, yes, so red does go for preventing the queening. And so that's a little bit extra value that green got because he didn't have anything in position to stop the queening. And so red was willing to give up the bishop. So now red has traded, well, red has lost this king, lost 20 points, lost of the bishop, while green simply lost his queen. Okay. But now we see that red has an easy pawn push coming up. Does have to protect this, although the rook's already doing that somewhat. Would be nice to see some extra defense there. Okay. Okay, and prefers to capture this way because the pawn is a little bit safer here. The rook is open, and he will be able to protect the pawn with one knight move. Okay, and just goes ahead and promotes. Interesting. So now green would have to give up a rook for pawn and knight. He does. Okay, and removing green's power of doubling the rooks is of benefit to red. But I don't know if that whole trade overall was worth it. Okay, that's... Okay. So yellow also decides to trade off for some of green's resources in an effort to open up these two bishops. It is true that green's the point leader, so they're attacking him for now, but red and yellow both do have nice positions. In fact, I guess yellow does have the... I've been a little bit biased towards red up till now because he did capture that queen. But in reality, yellow is only 4 points behind and still has the bishop pair, in addition to as many heavies as red. King's positioning is a little bit worse. It's harder for him to take advantage of this rook for now, but I'm sure a couple pawn pushes would help bring the rook out. So pretty balanced position between red and yellow here. Green has a point lead, but I wouldn't expect him to do well without having a queen. Okay, and actually green takes there, so the rook gets to recapture, and now yellow is completely developed. So let's see. Okay. Wait a sec. So why? What's forcing yellow to do this? It will open up green's king a little bit, but right, I guess some tactics along here. But it also seems like yellow is playing to lose, right? Right, so now yellow starts attacking red when he sees the red doesn't have an immediate checkmate. But it's like, then why did you give up your queen to begin with, you know? Okay, so red has enough power up to time out. He did time out. Okay, I was going to say, if green and yellow could work together, they could probably still take on red. It's possible he timed out. It's possible it was also a strategic timeout because he didn't want to give red any more points. So if he could just... well, actually, no. I mean, someone has to take the kings, right? There's no way if you time out here that you still win the game with only like a 21-point advantage. Four games with the same opposite, yes. Green says lag, yes. Okay, so maybe he did just time out there, which is unfortunate, especially in the World Finals. Okay, and then so, right, it should be a cakewalk now for red. And yeah, so he's going to win the rook there, and there's no way for yellow to promote. So that's sort of an easy win for red. He does take the king of green all along the way, so it's an easy point victory. And that's all she wrote for this game. It was a much quicker one. Would have been nice to see what happened if green did not time out, but we'll keep going through the games and see if there's any interesting things of note afterwards, after this game. Taking another quick look at the opening. I did like, well, the middle game, I did like the decision by red to follow up on green here because it did leave him with a queen and green without a queen. And so it was initiated by green, but it's sort of ultimately a bad decision. Not even to mention the fact that you're killing your opposite, which could be considered bad, but regardless of that, in this case, you're losing the queen for 20 points, which is not typically worth it. All right, so we'll end it there, and thanks for watching, everyone.